This is where we left off from my previous tier list video. Today we have Gotcha Gamer, I am Rivenous, and Kana joining us. Things are mostly up and... Oops.
Whoa, what was that? What did we just...
Oh, you like my background?
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Oh, man, you don't want to see this, bro. Not from the trader himself.
Holy crap.
Oh.
Really quick, I've got the perfect sponsor for all you gamers today, Taurus Land. Taurus Land is a brand new cross-platform MMORPG coming out on June 21st. Pre-register now at the link below, with endearing graphics inspired from the golden era of MMOs. Taurus Land is a modern blast to the past. Choose from 9 classes and 18 specializations to play exactly how you want to play the game. Be the warrior to lead the charge, the priest to get yelled at by your warrior for not healing them, and my favorite, the mage to blow everything up. Travel through Taurus Land's fabulous regions, like the vast and beautiful Misty Forest, and the Ankash Canyon, a ruinous area devastated by combat. And conquer the epic final boss with your friends, the Blight Dragon, the endgame boss of all endgame bosses with his terror-inducing size and difficulty, where you're certain to face a challenge and receive massive rewards and invaluable loot. Taurus Land is coming out on both mobile and PC, so you can play Taurus Land anytime, anywhere. Just smash that link down below to pre-register. Huge thanks to Taurus Land for sponsoring today's video. Alright then, let's get started. I will nominate the first character to be changed, and let's start with Havoc Rover. I think Havoc Rover should be in the same tier as these characters.
I would also agree with that on tier 0.5. However, I do not agree with her being on the same level as Calchado and Encore, but that's a different matter.
Oh, do you think she's better or worse?
I think Encore is better and should be 0, but let's talk about that when we talk about Encore.
Okay.
I personally think 0.5 is fine. However, if we take into consideration that her S6 makes her literally deal more damage than some other 5 stars, I think tier 0 might even be close. However, we have to keep in mind that will still take a while till we get that as well. So.
Right.
I honestly think only the one that impacts her right now besides S2 is S6, right? The one that gives her like crit rate for 25%.
It's insane damage increase.
Yeah, it's a huge boost basically. You save like what, 2 or 3, well, I guess 3 or 4 substat rolls here.
I want to discuss about Encore, simply because I think her placement is fine, but not fine at the same time. We also rank certain characters not only based on the damage, but also the utility they provide, right? For example, Sanghua. Sanghua moved up to tier 0.5 simply because she is so versatile and she can be used in a lot of different places. A lot of teams want her, and that's also a reason why she moves up. It's not only her damage. And Encore has this little special thing where people, especially CN now, found out. I mean, it always existed, but people now started using her as a hybrid character in quick swap teams where you mostly utilize her E and try to quick cancel that. And not only does she a lot of damage, which is very similar compared to others, but she also can be played in this hybrid case in quick swap teams, which, for example, Calchado only has that place basically, or Jian only has the place as a main carry, and I think that warrants her to move up a tier, personally. However, I think having her in tier 0.5 is fine as well.
It's really interesting because her skill is so incredible because it's also like a battery too.
Like charging her resonance energy or her concerto energy is like the fastest that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Character, honestly.
We have to keep in mind as soon as Ringmaster gets available, Encore will get an insane damage boost for everybody who has that. Like,
and that's actually coming in like a week and a half or whatever, right? So that's really soon. So let's just leave her at tier 0.5. Let's talk about Jen Xin. I think she's a good one to talk about.
Fritwin moved her to tier 0.5 and relegated her from a hybrid to
support.
Using, for example, the Originite weapon, which makes it easier to... I mean, she can heal by herself, but using the Originite weapons, it's easier.
Consistent, yeah.
I can see her being tier 0.5 in certain teams, for example, in quick swap teams, especially with Havoc Rover, where you basically just take Jianqing, press her ultimate, and then swap to Well, auto attack ultimate, so you proc the rejuvenating set, and then you go to Havoc Rover, press one time your ultimate, and then swap back out to basically any other character, for example, Dungeon.
If I couldn't use Verena, I would always choose her over literally any other support. Me personally, I would want to move her up to tier 0.5. My Genshin just has enough health to literally not die. And yeah, that's all she needs, right? And she just has the Originite weapon, which is completely look level 1.
Yep.
What is this garbage? But you know what? That's all she needs.
Doesn't she need quite a bit of ER? Like 150 cost?
So my goal with her was not to ultimate every rotation, right? Because I'm not even going to bother investing a bunch of echoes just to get her to do that. But still, ultimating every other rotation I found was perfectly great and valuable for this team. Who wants to choose the next hot topic here?
I think it's kind of funny she's sitting at the bottom, but today I've been like writing a lot of things about all the characters, and I was thinking like, okay, so Tauchi can actually be used kind of with Xixia, right? Because she boosts her like skill damage, and you can slap on her like either Moonlit or like Rejuvenating set. I don't know, like, is she really a bottom tier character? I rated her as bottom tier as well, but like, I don't know. She doesn't feel that bad, I guess. I tried her to use an Adversity Sour. Like, she gets the job done. She's essentially like a walking artifact set.
Walking artifact set, bro.
Tauchi's sequences don't really help her much. And my main problem is she has really, really bad Concerto problems. So the main way how she generates Concerto is either by her Forte, obviously her ultimate, but, well, it's an ultimate. And lastly, her skill. The problem is her skill doesn't really generate that much, and it's on a 15 seconds cooldown.
Like, another question. Has anybody played with Yanwu?
One could argue that he could be a decent low investment character that you can just on-field dodge and break bosses' bars with. I think there is a case to be made for that. But I'm just not, I just don't think the additional, like, let's say in a Tower of Adversity run, one additional 10-second window where you can beat up the boss unconditionally versus beating up the boss
harder,
moderately conditionally is significantly better, right? That's just kind of how I feel about him. So his impact seems just pretty low in general.
Tauchi should be like at the bottom of tier 2. Like, they can both just share the same spot, like whatever. It seems like from everyone's impressions right now, they're both like unremarkable. So like, why would Tauchi be like moved to the bottom right now? It just makes her look like she's completely unusable, like at this point.
I kind of agree with this actually. Like, tier 3 with how big of like a gap that looks does make those characters look unusable, and I don't think any character in this game is inherently unusable.
Personally, just don't think Alto is correctly placed in tier 2 if we move up Tauchi and leave Yunwu there. I think he might be able to even move to tier 1.
We'll start with Alto then, right? We'll talk about Alto. So, Rivenus, you're saying that he should be moved up to this tier in line with these characters.
I don't think he's on the same level as those tier 1 characters. However, he is also not on the same level as those other characters in tier 2. So that's my personal
So this is what you're saying
opinion.
then. We should move these two down to tier 3.
Jixia probably as well, I'm sorry.
Hang on. I'm fine with this setup too at the same time, but it also makes them look like,
We'll change the color and it'll look better. Type usable still.
That makes it sound worse. That makes it sound worse.
Now they need like a special. Now we need a special disclaimer. Like, you get an infection when you use these characters.
Usable. Let's talk about Xixia next. Actually, I'm gonna kick this one off, and I think she should actually be moved up a tier.
Oh,
holy shit.
Yeah, the level 1 guy, the level 1 hasn't upgraded Xixia guy is gonna put it. Okay, let's hear it, buddy.
Okay. So for real, like, she is just a reasonable range DPS character. I mean, there are a lot of additional opportunities for her to do damage that other characters can't. If you're in this tower, and if you fought this, I mean, not to
the Ganser gang.
Yeah, if you fought like this asshole here, Xixia will just shred him a new one, and otherwise you're dancing around every freaking attack he does because he will clock you out in 2 hits. Xixia is incredible for like kind of skill issues for a lot of different enemies because of her ranged. And she still does like, you know, enough DPS to where I don't think she's like horribly worse than the other DPS characters.
Okay, so I have an S6 Jixia. Have never played her yet, so I have no opinion on that.
Okay, so we'll move Xixia up to tier 1 for now. We can potentially revisit later, but for now, I'll flag her just in case, right? If things look weird. So Dungeon, so far we all are kind of talking about moving her up to tier 0.5, right? That's the current discussion.
Okay, could I start on Danjin, actually?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I've done an unintentional amount of like research in this character. I made a guide for her, but I also like spent a lot of time arguing with people about this character because I've seen a few people try to use her as like everything. Like people have tried to use her as the main DPS. They've tried to use her as the hybrid. Some people are even trying to use her as like the buffer, where like if you have no gear for Danjin, you could just use her as like a buffer for Havoc Rover. But I think just the fact that she has like a bunch of different ways that people are trying to play her, I think gives her some value.
Let's talk about
Lingyang.
Lingyang. Okay.
Even when I like made my review for like Wuthering Waves, and I said that like Lingyang is so clunky, like he doesn't register like the hitboxes. His kit is like all over the place. And I thought, you know, they will fix him for release. You know, they will make changes to him. Did they make changes?
I personally think Lingyang is in a spot where we will find some new way of using him just because we have now more or less discovered quickswap teams to a certain degree, and I personally think revisiting his rotation to a point where you might want to actually use him in a similar way of how Encore, for example, is used might be actually the right play for him. However, that's more of it's a lot of copium, to be honest. Like the attack set on him with, for example, the Mech Abomination, which also boosts outro damage by 60%, and he has 600% scaling on his outro damage.
That sounds kind of goofy.
Yeah, I think he is actually pretty damn good and probably more closer to the other characters in tier 0.5. However, I personally don't want to take that stance just yet, even though that's my personal opinion.
How about we just we compromise and we put him at the top of T1?
Probably best to keep him there because we still have other units in 0.5 like Volcaro and Encore, so, you know.
Okay. So what about Spectra Rover then?
I mean, she's overshadowed right now by like Havoc. That's it. It's pretty simple.
And you can't use both.
And it's not like you can even use them both at the same time. You have to pick one, and that's it.
Also, I personally think she has like advantages which Havoc Rover just does not have, which is the fact that we can also use her in like a support slot because technically, we don't have that sequence yet, but technically she can heal, so she would be able to be used as a support, and she also does shred spectral resistance. Unfortunately, we don't have a DPS for that yet. But I think
main.
DPS main, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, no, fine. Let's leave her as T1.
I also would argue Yang as well as Baiji are fine where they are.
Okay.
So there are two sides to that. Number one is you wouldn't use Yang instead of Mortifi or Alto. You would use her in conjunction, which means you would use Yang, Mortifi, and Jian in a team. So, however, it is not that Yang is better than Verena or Baiji or whatever. It is that Yang is easier to use than Baiji in that rotation because of Concerto, especially because she is a beast at generating Concerto. She provides a little bit of grouping. To be fair, Jian does not necessarily need that. And she is more often an option which you can use if you don't have Verena, if you don't have Alto, for example. Technically seen, especially for the early game, she is also very good because you will not have that much energy regeneration on Jian.
Rivenus brings up a good point. I agree with him that once your teams are a little bit better built, Yang does feel like she's falling off. Because another thing that gave Yang more value than we had initially thought was because of the 30% energy sharing has been changed to 50%. Which is absolutely massive when it comes to, I think it's massive, at least for Yang value, because, you know, obviously energy that she provides is much more valuable. If it were just based on my playtesting and experience, I would actually move her down, but that's just because now my teams are pretty well built. There's just no room for her, right? There's no reason for me to use her, but I could say that about, you know, a lot of the characters here, since I do have Arena, I do have Encore, I do have Havoc Rover built, and GN, of course. So I don't know. I find it hard to slaughter, but in the early game, she's definitely a useful support. Her being here is fine with me. So I guess we can just knock it out, right?
Yeah, I think Bai Ji has the unfortunate fate of being, I mean, she was already labeled as Walmart Verena. We love talking about light versions of characters, or like budget versions of characters, but she really is budget Verena in a lot of cases.
Her ultimate is not that useful compared to Verena's. She provides the same amount of attack, which, I mean, not the same amount. She provides 15%, Verena does provide 20%. And I think personally she requires a little bit too much field time to build the Concerto compared to Verena. However, she is free, she is easy to build. And yeah, also you have to pick up this little thingy, I guess.
You should definitely use just more field time. Leave it tier 1, right? Anyone have anything else to say about her? I guess I would move her just like here above Spectre Rover personally, like just for optics.
Fine for me.
Okay. I don't think we need to talk about Mortefi and Sanhua, right? They're just fine. Sorry, there's one thing I do actually want to do. I want to get rid of the mommy tier, just because it looks like there's too many tiers.
Shadow really needs a little bit of quick swappy teams, because if you don't quick swap with him, you just die. You're literally stunning yourself for 6 out of 11 seconds by doing the death messengers. And if you get hit by basically anything, it's just dead.
Okay.
I would probably move him. Yeah, exactly. That's what I probably would do. I would move him within the tier. However, I don't think he is like unusable or whatever.
Should he be behind Genshin?
I think so, because he's more difficult to play.
Yeah.
Also, she's a support, so I mean, she has more viability.
So here is our final updated tier list for version 1.0. Unless some big things change with Yinlin's release, I'm pretty happy with this one, and I'm not really sure we're going to be updating it again before the next patch. Let me know what you guys agree with and disagree with down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.